Welcome to this edition of When Ebenezer Talks. We are on location tonight at Accomack County School Board headquarters. I am delighted to have Dr. Rhonda Hall with us, the newly elected, or I shouldn't say elected, appointed School Board Superintendent. Dr. Hall, thank you so much for finding time in your busy schedule to meet with us and have this conversation.
You're welcome. I love it.
Thank you.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's begin. How long have you been in education?
I've been in Accomack County for over 34 years, but I have been in education for about 44 years.
Wow. So you have seen a lot of changes. You've worked with a lot of children, and you've seen a lot of things take place.
I have seen things come and things go, and trends come and trends go, and hot topics. Yes, over those years, it has been a lot of changes, and everything always comes back to the same thing. Let's see what we can find, the best practices to educate our students. And yeah.
Did you ever think you would be in education this long?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I started off as a speech and language pathologist when I graduated from Hampton, and then I just decided after a period of time I want to reach more kids.
Okay.
And so then I went into the classroom, taught second grade, and after being in the classroom for several years, it came back to me again. I want to reach more kids. So as I have progressed, or as I have moved through the different aspects of my educational journey, it has always been so that I can make a bigger difference with a larger group of kids, you know. And so here I am. But yes, I did think I'd be in education this long.
Okay. How has the transition been since you moved from Human Resources?
No, from the Assistant Superintendent.
Assistant Superintendent. How has the transition been moving from the assistant to the superintendent?
It's been good.
Okay.
It has been a really good transition, and I guess it's because I've been here, and I worked with a superintendent who gave me a lot of autonomy to do a lot of things, and as long as they were in the best interest of the school division. So the transition has been really good. What I have found that I needed to do is I needed to let go of some of the things that I was doing as Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, and trying to and let delegate some of those responsibilities.
We must be related, because I have a hard time delegating too.
Sometimes that's very difficult, but I'm learning and I'm getting there. But I'm fulfilling the things that I have, I said I was going to do. When I first came on board, I gave the board a 100-day transition plan, and that's explaining to them what I would be doing or trying to do within my first 100 days as a superintendent. And right now, I can say that I'm working my way right on through that 100-day plan, and it's going very well.
Ironically, you say that. I thought when I was preparing these questions about 100 days as it relates to our national president of the country, and I wondered, did you have that same momentum? And so could you kind of help us? I know you might not can share all of it, but what are some of the moves that you wanted to make and some of the plans and directions for your 100 days?
Well, that's the one thing you learn in Superintendency 101, is that when you come into a new school division, that you create a 100-day plan and you present it to your school board to say, this is what I'm going to be doing within my first 100 days on the job, or this is what I plan to try to accomplish. Well, I have already been here, so it was one of those things where I felt like I still needed to do that, because I wanted to let them know which direction I was going in and what I had planned to do. So the first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to create advisory committees. So I have a parent advisory committee, I have a teacher advisory committee, I have a student advisory committee, and a community leaders advisory committee. So I wanted to create them, so I asked for principals' input. Tell me who you want to represent your school on these committees. So we set those up, we invited people, and last night I had my first parent advisory committee, and I had my first teacher one yesterday. So setting up advisory committees was one of the main things. I'm doing learning and listening tours, going to each building, sitting down with the administrators and listening to what are their major concerns. Now, I know some of them, but I wanted to listen to what they had to say, and then help them in their efforts to be able to meet the needs of their students in their buildings. We had a student handbook that I felt that the more emphasis was put on it being a calendar than a student code of conduct handbook. So we revised that to go back and make sure our websites were updated as much as possible. And we're still working on some of those, because I go through and I look at them and I find out, oh, somebody needs to update something here. So those are some of the things that I plan to do in my first 100 days. Now, building board relations, that's a really major thing for a superintendent.
I'm sure.
Is to have a relationship with your board. So part of building a relationship with my board is that I send them, I'm very transparent with them. I keep them informed. I send them a weekly update every Friday. I send them a weekly update. These are things that are not urgent, major things that you need to know about, but it keeps them in the loop. So when parents contact them, they see them in the grocery store or whatever, they will know what is going on in our schools. Now, if something happens that I feel like they need to know right away, I text them or I call them or I email them right away to let them know. The whole thing is keeping them in the know, letting them know what is going on in Accomack County schools in between the times that we sit and we meet as a board.
Okay.
So,
have the school division and the parents, staff, and teachers that are involved in this, have they received that well?
They have, and I think they're very excited about it. Having a voice, and that's what they're going to have, is a voice. Tell me, talk to me, and I explained to them what an advisory committee is. It is to advise the superintendent. Now, it doesn't mean that everything you say that you want or that you see that we're going to be able to do it, but keep the lines of communication open, because although you might not like something that's going on, if I have the opportunity to explain to you why, and you get the knowledge behind it, then you'll understand a little bit better. You might still walk away not liking the decision, but then at least you will understand the reason why the decision was made. So I think that everybody is going to be receptive, because parents having a voice and teachers having a voice is something that we really need. Open lines of communication are necessary.
Other than your 100 days, what are your goals as the new superintendent of Accomack County?
Safety is my #1 goal.
Okay.
Of course, we look at everything that's happening across the country, and I want to ensure that our students here in Accomack County are safe. So the first thing that we did is we did some research. My director of facilities did some research on metal detectors.
Okay.
So this year, for the first time, we have metal detectors in all of our buildings. Now, we've had them in middle school and high school at a limited number, but this year we have them in elementary school also.
Really?
And so every child, every day, walks through the metal detectors.
That was my next question.
Yes,
Okay.
every child. It's
grader
not
walking
a second grader walks through the metal detector. And, you know, we had some kinks the first day of school, of course, because a lot of times kids weren't used to going through them. The ones that we have are new, and they had the staff had to have training on them, but they're not an option.
Okay.
So we're going to work out all the kinks. We're the director, Bobby, is working with the company to make sure we've worked out all the kinks. He's gone the company that made them, and that company provides them for a lot of school divisions.
Okay.
Is coming to do a little in-service workshop with a group of people at the school, so that we can make sure that we're utilizing them and we're using them effectively, because once again, they're not an option.
Okay.
Safety is not an option, and I'd rather have a longer line and take a few more minutes for kids to get to class than to not send them through, and that's the day that a gun gets in our building or a knife that can be used to hurt somebody gets in our building. So we will work through that. So safety is one of my major goals. Another goal is parents. Parents as partners.
Okay.
You know, I want our parents to feel comfortable with us, comfortable with coming to us, and comfortable with knowing that we're here for their kids and we're going to do everything that we can to provide them with the best education possible.
Okay.
So that's one of my goals, is working with the parents. Another goal is attendance. I think that our kids got into the habit, and if anyone listened to our governor when he was speaking, the data from our testing data and our school report cards and everything indicates that kids got into the habit of not coming to school during the pandemic. They became comfortable and complacent with that, and sometimes parents did too. So now our attendance is not well. It's not very good. We have, out of our 11 schools in the division, we probably have, I think we have 7 of them that are in the yellow for attendance. And that means that they had kids that missed more than 18 days out of school. And so attendance is a big thing, truancy. The governor is putting money toward improved truancy in the state of Virginia. He has this new plan that he's developed, or this new initiative. It's called ALL, Academics, Literacy, and Learning, or Attendance, Literacy, and Learning. And so we have to come up with a plan on how we're going to implement this. And funding will be given to us to help implement and how to improve our learning, our literacy, and our attendance. So those are some of my goals also.
What do you say to us as parents and grandparents as it relates to the need of us trying to push, get our children and grandchildren to want to attend and be, you know, when I was going to school, if you made all 180 days, you get a certificate at the end of the year. And so, you know, what do you say to us? What do you say to the community, to the clergy, to civic leaders as it relates to helping you and the county get the children to be more attentive or to attend better, get the attendance rate up?
That's part of what we have, a truancy team, but we also have a task force that's working on attendance. Now, part of my first 100 days is I met with clergy, and I met with about 40 clergy, because I believe that clergy have a lot of influence on their congregation, and the message was, help us help students. So if you can talk to your congregation or talk to your parents and grandparents about the importance of your students coming to school, and no excuses, don't let them have a lot of excuses that for not coming to school, because they cannot learn. We learned during COVID that our kids need to be in school to learn, and they can't learn if they're not in school.
Very true.
And I did like what the governor said about who thought that, and during the time of COVID, everybody was scrambling to try to figure out how we're going to educate kids. Fortunately, Accomack County was one of the few schools across the state of Virginia that kept schools open. Our schools closed just during that short period of time in March when everything closed, but we opened right back up because we had a task force that came together, and we looked at all aspects of how can we open our schools safely, and we did that. We opened our schools. Now, we were on a hybrid plan where kids came to school every other day, but still they were in school. But we had some schools across the state of Virginia and the country that never opened.
That's
and
correct.
Then some schools in Virginia never opened until the governor said you have to open your schools. So we made sure we had kids in school because we understood the importance of that. But we're still seeing kind of the effects of that now, because we still see kids that won't come to school and they don't like to come to school.
Obviously,
and it's showing in our data.
You're reading my mind, because I was going to ask you, are you feeling or seeing the effects of COVID? We're, 2 years away from it now?
Yes.
Are you still seeing the effects
We
of it?
still see the effects of COVID. Our fourth graders right now our kids in fourth grade now are the kids who went out during COVID. So you figured they missed from March to the end of the year, and then that next year they only went to school every other day. So opposed to when we looked at our data, our a normal year for a student is 180 days.
Okay.
And our kids went to school that first full year of COVID, 88 days. So you can see how much classroom instruction they missed. And virtual learning is good. It's not good for everyone.
That's
All
true.
kids cannot learn by sitting and looking at a 12-inch screen or a 14-inch screen. And they have to be there for the interaction, the back and forth, the hearing what others are saying, and the structure of it all. So we're seeing a lot of that now. But we can't keep, blaming it on COVID. We've got to move forward. So we're going to do that. Yes.
We talk outside of schools, and we may talk about in schools. Everybody has a bucket list. As superintendent, what would be 3 things in your bucket list if the governor walked in and said, Dr. Hall, I'm going to give you 3 things you want, whatever you want, the 3 things that are most important to you for your school division? What do you think they would be?
Well, I would like to have all the unlimited funds. And it's not just for purchasing supplies and things like that. I want to be able to pay my teachers what they are worth. And I feel like our teachers here in Accomack County are worth as much as the teachers in Worcester County, as much as the teachers in Alexander or Fairfax, because although we live in what they think is this rural area here, our teachers teach as hard or harder than a lot of the teachers across the country and other places. But that would be the one thing. Give me money so I can pay my teachers so that they can feel valued and they can feel worthy, and they'll do the best. They're going to do the best they can. We have a very good team of teachers here. I talked to the teachers yesterday and I told them, I said, I put them up against any teachers across the country. I've taught in a lot of different school divisions, and I would put them up against any of them across the country. Very dedicated teachers. They work as a team in their buildings and things like that, but they're not getting paid what they're worth. And this year we went out on a limb. Our starting salary last year was roughly around last year was about $44,000. This year we stepped up and we was like, okay, we're going to take a gamble. We're going to do $48,000. And so I was shooting for 50, but I couldn't get the 50. But next year we're going to go even. We're going to keep moving up. We're going to keep going higher because our teachers deserve it here. So that would be one thing I would tell the governor. Just give me the money that we need to be able to pay our teachers what they're worth. Give me the parent support that we need so that parents will understand that what we're doing is in the best interest of their kids. And that they don't have to challenge us a lot of times on a lot of different things, because we're going to do what's in the best interest of their kids, and we're going to educate their kids, get them here, send them here, and we're going to educate them. And I guess the main thing that I would say is I don't want any guns or any things that's going to impact the safety of our students in our buildings. So if I had a way that I could ensure, or I could be assured that we're going to keep all guns out of our buildings and things like that, that would be absolutely wonderful.
Okay. Let's talk about the school board, because obviously you being the superintendent, you have probably daily or weekly or whatever time that you have to mingle and co-mingle with them. What role does a superintendent play as it relates to having a relationship with the school board?
Well, the superintendent is the leader of the school division. The school board is the governing body of this. They are in charge of policies and things like that, but the superintendent is basically the leader of the school division. And so you have the governing body and then you have the leadership, and they should work together cohesively to try to look at what's in the best interest of the school division. They have to have a good working relationship. They cannot have a relationship where the school board is constantly undermining the superintendent, or the superintendent will not communicate or relay things to the school board. You have to have that open communication. And that was part of my 100-day transition plan, is to always make sure I have an open communication with the school board. They don't have any problem contacting me anytime, texting me. They know that when they text me, I'm going to text them and respond back to them. I have my Friday update that I send to them. And if anything happens during the week at the schools, sometimes before and they're used to it now. I've only been on board since July, but they're used to it. If something happens at a school, they don't have a problem now texting me and say, what's going on at so-and-so? And my response back to them is, I'm getting all the details and I will let you know as soon as I find out all the details. So you have to. That, I think, is one of the primary roles of a superintendent, is to develop a relationship with their board. So,
and your advantage is you've been in this realm, this department for several years.
Right.
You've made a good rapport with many of the school board members.
I have.
Even when it was time to agree to disagree.
Right, right.
They knew you, you knew them.
Right.
And so it's probably, I would take a gamble and say it's not as hard as people would think it would be.
I think they understand that when I come to them with a proposal, or when I come to them with something, I've thought it through. And we've worked as a team, because I do like to get input from other people before we present proposals and things like that. So I think they understand that when I come to them with a proposal, that it's been thought through and it's in the best interest of the division. And sometimes you're never going to have, well, sometimes you do have all of them to agree all the time on everything. But even when they don't agree, they have their rationale why they didn't. Maybe, this is the first time we haven't done this or whatever. But they'll go along with it, because once it's decided that we're going to do it, they support it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. When I was going to school, I loved shop. The late Mr. George Mizell was one of my shop teachers. My godfather, Charlie Addison, taught me ag. There are not a lot of trades now in the school division, hands-on shop, agriculture. What do you say to the student who may not be willing or desires to go to college, but wants to take up building trades or HVAC or plumbing or mechanics or agriculture? This is an agricultural area. A lot of families are farming families. What do you say to that man, that young boy or girl that wants to go off to Virginia Tech, major in some form of agriculture, but can't get that in the schools? Has any conversation been done about bringing back some form of trades other than the ones you already have?
Yes, and to up front, I totally support trades. We call it CTE, our Career and Technical Education Programs. I do highly believe in them. And so now we try to encourage our students, if they to dabble in one of our career and technical programs. I think that they should. I'd love to see kids in HVAC programs and in our building trades program. Our automotive program, we had a young lady this year that went to nationals. We've never, and won, at nationals. I think she placed third place at nationals. Never happened before. These are the things that we have. Our automotive program up at Arcadia High School has a waiting list. Our cosmetology program, our kids, when they finish that program, they go right into the field if they want to. Our nursing program is highly sought after, and those kids can come out, they'll have their CNAs, and they go right into another program, or they can go to work and work toward getting their LPN or their RN. So we're looking at other programs. I would love to see a pharmacology program for us. Another program, a veterinarian program. Those are CTE programs that they have at some of the other academies that we have investigated, and we would love to bring more CTE programs here. And we're going to do that. We have to there's a process. We can't just say, oh, we want to start pharmacology, or we want to start veterinary science. Or last year was our first year for our EMT program. Yes, we did that, and that's wonderful. We want to build that program. So it's a matter of finding the people who can teach those programs, and if we can find the people, then we can start the process with the State Department of being able to implement those programs. So yes, we're there. We know that every child is not going to go to to a four-year institution. Every child doesn't need to. They want to get out of school, they want to start working, they want to do other things, and we respect that, and we will provide opportunities for them to do that.
Okay. I want to close this interview by talking about breaking the glass ceiling.
Okay.
You are the first female superintendent in Accomack County Schools.
I am.
I could go in another direction, but I'm not. I'm gonna say first female superintendent. What do you say to the 7th grade female student that's sitting in science class, watching you walk by and raises her hand and asks her teacher, who is that young lady, who is that lady, who is that woman that's walking the schools with my principal? And the teacher responds by saying, that's Dr. Rhonda Hall, she's the school superintendent. And that young girl says to themselves, I want to be her.
Wow.
What do you say?
First, I hope that is not just a scenario, but I hope that that is something that actually will happen, that young ladies, any color, kind, national, whatever, they will see me and they will say, she's a superintendent. If she is a superintendent, I want to find out how she did this, what she did, what was her plan, and it will inspire them to decide to grow and to understand that I can be anything I want to be if I put in the work. I tell people, young people all the time, that their drive, determination, and dedication will get you what you need in life or what you want. And you got to throw a little patience in there too. So, as you know, I've had lots of patience. But I think that I would like the message to go out to young ladies that don't let that glass ceiling stop you. Keep doing what you need to do until you break through it. Because at some point in time, you can break through that glass ceiling if you just stay focused on your goals and if you be patient. Sometimes patience, they say patience is a virtue.
It is.
And you have to be patient. It's hard. It's very hard to be patient, but you have to. And that's just, like I said, a message that I would like to send out to any young lady, that you can be the next superintendent of Accomack County Schools if you truly want to be one, and if you work hard enough and you do what you need to do, and you make sure you have all those tools in your toolbox to be the superintendent. You don't want to be the superintendent just because you think somebody says that you're entitled to it, or it's owed to you. You want to be the superintendent because you have all the tickets and all the tools that you needed to be successful. And I'll tell anybody, yes, people know my journey before I got here, and I will tell them that every time I applied to be the superintendent, and every time I was passed over, it was a learning experience, because I learned and I grew. And I know every aspect of this school division. I know a little bit about transportation, food service facilities. I know about federal programs, finance, instruction, and knowing how to do network and try to grow a school division. So I learned. And maybe there was a method to all that madness, that I needed to do all that learning before God granted me the position.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have enjoyed this interview. I wish you nothing but success.
Well, thank you.
And I pray that your division will follow your leadership, and that God will grant you everything you need to do what you need to do.
Well, I thank you, and prayer works. So.
Do you want to have any closing remarks to the community?
I just want the community to support the schools and to work as our partner in their child's education.
Very good. Yeah. Very good. Well, friends, there you have it. Drive, determination, dedication, and a little bit of patience. I'm Palmer Bunting, pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church. Thank you for joining us in this episode of When Ebenezer Talks. We wish you the best. We pray that God will sustain you. Until next time, God bless you.